The Yamaha PSR-E363. To me, this is the archetypal learner's piano. It's got all the good sounds and all the features that you need to get in and learn piano, but also learn about making music in a wider sense. Alright, the front panel. Well, it's a pretty Spartan design. The first thing you notice is a nice, simple, super clear screen with a keyboard across the bottom and notation on the left-hand side. It's a little small, but you might have seen that the keys light up corresponding to whatever you're playing. It probably makes sense to look at the right-hand side first, panning across. The three main white buttons are probably the ones you're going to be pressing the most. In particular, the bottom two, voice and style. To choose a voice, you just press it and type in a number. 123, for example, is marimba. If ever you want to go straight back to grand piano, just press the grand piano button. Style and song work exactly the same way, just press and choose. So number 21 is pop shuffle. Here we've got our reverb button. You can press that and choose a series of reverbs, and they'll all sound slightly different. It's quite a subtle difference, but you will find as you play more, you'll become more discerning about that. Holding down this button will give you access to the master equalizer, and I'll show you how this changes the sound. Again, pretty subtle, but you will find after time that you'll be quite discerning about that too. And if you've got a sound set up exactly the way you want it, you can put it in the registration memory using that button there. So I've seen how the keypad works too, although I will point out that if you're in voice, for example, no and yes become plus minus buttons. So as I press plus there, I'm going up, and minus takes me back down. But sometimes you'll be asked for a yes or no answer in the menu, so really it's a dual function setup. Plus, minus, no, yes. Speaking of dual functions, anything with this little icon, don't know how clearly you can see that, but the little down arrow icon means that if you hold a button down, it will open up a new function. In this case it's the arpeggiator. Again, using plus minus, I can choose all the arpeggios available. One quick press after that switches it on. Okay, so that's arpeggio number 53, which is called Hybrid 3, using the clavy sound and simply playing a B chord. In this section you can also set up a split voice. If you want to split your keyboard in half, maybe have bass on the left and piano on the right, you can do that by pressing split. That activates the split function, and then hold it down to choose the voice that you want at the lower end. By default this one's on fingered bass. So we're controlling two different instruments. At the top we've got the music database, which is just a collection of old standard songs, and I left this one till last, the dual function. This will really bring out the personality of the PSR-E363. It enables you to layer any two of the sounds from the whole selection. So if I'm playing number 20, bright organ, just as an example, but I want to beef up that sound a little bit, I'll press the dual button just to switch that dual function on, and then I'll press it again but hold it down this time, and that allows me to choose my dual voice. So it looks like it's harpsichord by default. Interesting, but it's not really what I'm after. But it's very easy to experiment. While I'm in dual mode, I can just flick through any of the sounds and choose something that might work. Reed organ has come up there. Okay, so we're getting closer to the kind of organ sound that I'm looking for. And again, as your playing improves, you'll get quite discerning about organ sounds, especially if you're playing rock, jazz, blues, church music, anything where the organ sound has a strong impact on the mood of the music. There is one more very important button on this side, and that's the function button. Repeated presses of this one will take you through all the main menu options. And dual volume is a good example. By default, that last voice was set to 17, so in order to hear it clearly, it's worth turning it up to at least 80, I think, to get a good dual layered sound. So if you activate your dual function but you don't hear that dual layer, it's probably the volume in the function menu. So definitely take the time to explore that and all the other options in the function menu, because it's got a lot of stuff in there that brings out a lot more in the keyboard. And on the other side, well, the other side is more focused on rhythm. These ones are called the transport controls, very self-explanatory. Start, stop, intro, fill-ins are available. You can synchronize it to start as soon as you play your first note. As you play with this section, you'll find you'll very quickly gain a full understanding of how it works. Let's do an example. I'll press the intro button so it starts off with a nice slow beginning and then comes into the main section with more impact. So the rhythm's going, and I can put a little fill in at any time. Now you'll notice a change in mood there because it switched from the main A pattern to the main B pattern. I'll do another fill, and it switches back to the main A pattern. Up here you'll see we've got a tempo button. We can press that and enter our tempo manually using those plus, minus, yes, no buttons I told you about before. But if you want to do it more quickly, or if you're synchronizing with other musicians, just tap the tempo that you want. And the rhythm plays for a moment just to tell you how you're doing. You can also adjust your tempo on the fly. A little too fast. And super slow. There are a few of the more advanced functions here as well, but I won't go into those right now, as I just want this to be an introductory video that provides a basic overview of the PSR-E363's capabilities. The features I've shown you are common to all Yamaha PSR-E series keyboards, so you should be able to give yourself a good demo from the moment you see them in the music store. What we really need to know, of course, is how good does it sound? Well, I won't play anything excessively elaborate for two reasons. First of all, I can't, and the second reason is I really want you to hear the sounds of the PSR-E363 in a way that's not embellished by a really high level of playing. I've got to say that even though these aren't weighted keys, I'm liking the action and response that they give. Very nice. And the speakers, they've got a nice booming sound, certainly loud enough for any kind of home use, only distorting ever so slightly at the bass end if you really turn it up. And there are so many organ sounds to choose from. Definitely get into those and experiment. lot of nice wind sounds, and you'll notice some interesting changes as I increase the velocity with which I hit the keys. Now let's try some of the more synthy sounds. This one's called Pulleys Synth Pad. And to me it's really one of those sounds that's crying out to be layered with something else, so let's go to the dual function. Or maybe it'll sound best just with plain piano. Let's finish off with a few rhythms from our selection. And for every beat there's an accompaniment which you switch on by pressing this one. Now we can control what a virtual band is playing using the lower end of the keyboard. Sometimes coordinating those functions is almost as tricky as playing, but you will get better at it, and you can record all of that accompaniment and the changes that you make and play it back later. The back is pretty simple, but it does a lot. We have a sustain pedal socket. That's certainly something that you'll want to add as your piano playing gets better. and it's also handy for sustaining those long synth notes. Here we've got our headphone socket. Almost all the recording in this video was done through that. And this one is handy too. You can plug in an external device and use the PSR-E363 basically as an amplifier. So you can take advantage of these nice big speakers and add more music to your mix. With the right adapter, you can even use that to plug in a microphone. And finally, we've got the USB socket. Using this one, you can connect to your computer and control any of the sound making software that you've got with your PSR-E363, or you can allow the keyboard to be controlled by that software, effectively making it a sound generator and a pair of speakers for your computer. If you are taking it out of the home though, there is a battery option. Bear in mind your speakers won't be quite as loud when it's running on batteries. And that's my introduction to the Yamaha PSR-E363. What do you miss out on by not getting the 463? Well, the two notable features that you will miss out on are sampling and dynamic controls. But we'll talk more about that in an upcoming video. So in the meantime, please like, comment or subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next GearFacts video.